Now we'll move on and talk about digital healthcare. Be it online appointments, teleconsultations, in-home healthcare, or genome-focused R&D, or even alternate medicine consultants, digital facilities can cater to a wide range of healthcare needs. To discuss this, we would like to invite Dr. Venkata Narasimhamperi, who's the CEO of Cognitive Care, to please come on stage and share his views on digital healthcare. Please put your hands together for Dr. Perry.
Thank you very much. I just want to begin with a few statistics. Anybody, how many pre-term labor births in India per year? We have 27 million. Out of that, 27 million total births and 3.5 million preterm labor births. So 3.5 million babies are born in India, rural and urban included, who are severely exposed to prenatal risks, neonatal risks, cerebral palsy, and so forth and so on. In many cases, I heard many speakers speak about access to healthcare, how we can actually bring world-class healthcare to the rural population, etc. But my fundamental submission is that healthcare in general, whether we take it in India or in developed countries, is unsustainable if we continue to be reactive about solving the diseases. It has to be very, very proactive. For example, if we were to go back and detect a mother who is in her first trimester that she has very high risk for preterm labor, or if we look at the infant and we can predict that if that particular infant has very high risk for, let us say, a congenital disease, or we can detect that this particular mother has very high risk for severe preterm eclampsia, or we go into a mental health patient and very early in the advent of the disease, if we can predict that this individual has very high propensity for committing suicide or substance abuse, that is the way to go forward. I will conjecture here a bit of economics and healthcare. Even in the developed countries, for instance, if you take United States, the total debt of United States economically is about $22 trillion. That's how much US is borrowing. Out of that, 28% is the cost of healthcare. So as I said, one, it is very difficult to increase the density of lawyers as the population grows. And second, a logical corollary to that hypothesis is that it is just economically unsustainable for governments. I respectfully agree with the previous speaker saying that we need to give free health care. I would love that it works, but in 5 years of time, if we were to meet here again, I would really like to question and say how much of this free health care has really worked. For instance, why are we keeping that 1,000 rupees limit? Or how do we really make it free when there is so much of burden economically on the societies and the communities and the country and the states? So my submission to the policymakers and the decision makers here is that first and foremost, a significant portion of our healthcare paradigm has to be shifted to be able to detect diseases early, to be able to detect the signs of disease, the manifestation of the disease, and the network of diseases as they evolve in the human body. I am not a doctor. I am a practicing data scientist who has done enormous amount of work with healthcare, where we predicted cancer and advent of cancer in many, many populations very early. At the moment, we work at the intersection of medicine, biology, and very deep computing. That means very advanced artificial intelligence, neural networks, and deep learning capabilities that can help us to go into the existing data sets, which are very large volumes of data sets. So we look at the biomarkers data. We look at genetics as to how genetics is actually contributing to the evolution of the diseases. We also look at, for instance, images. So I can look at ultrasound images of the babies and correlate that image evolution with the corresponding biomarkers. We can actually correlate that with the historical context as to what kind of pregnancies this mother had in the past. Were they preterm labors? Were they cesarean births? Were they stillbirths? we combine all of this data and try to predict the propensity of a certain disease occurring in the individual very early. That's what we do. I think as much as we talk about the advent of medicine, it is also important to look at how technology can play such an important role, both in terms of detecting the diseases and putting that insight in the hands of the decision makers and by the bedside. So unless we really look at a very holistic assessment of healthcare and not just go about making it quote unquote free every time we talk about it, I doubt if economically we can sustain as a society to keep borrowing money and keep paying it. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm not against rural healthcare. I'm not against offering the opportunities to the less privileged, but at the same time, we as a society got to be conscious that at some point of time we need to tap into technology, which has tremendous capability to detect diseases and also put the insights in the hands of the people who are not only the doctors but also the policy makers. So I would urge this august body that we need to go back and really look at this picture and come back and say, look, the doctors have to work with the technologists to make sure that there is a fundamental shift away from the episodal treatment to more holistic assessment of the diseases, how they actually arrive into the human body, how they manifest in the human body, and very, very importantly, how can we convert those insights so that we can actually go back and intervene very, very early and prevent unwanted surgeries and medical interventions later on. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
In the category Innovative Healthcare Services Provider of the Year 2019, the award goes to Cognitive Care Labs India. Please put your hands together for the winners and big congratulations to Cognitive Care Labs India.